Right. Okay, welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's show. So today we're going to get started. We just want to talk about the differences in raising boys. I want to hear from moms today. How do you feel about, raising boys, the dynamics you deal with, societal norms, societal expectations. You also have family expectations. And then, we have in our minds these theoretical expectations. When I have a son, my son will do this, my son won't do this, he will be this way, that way. I want to hear from you all. And I just have a list of questions to use as a framework to kind of guide the conversation for today. But if there are some other things that you would like to discuss that you feel, the listeners would be interested in, please feel free. We're going to get started with you, Nicole. Just how have your own childhood experiences influenced how you parented your son? And what unique lessons do you hope your son learns about, respect and equality when it, compared to women, and also do you think discipline is approached differently for boys versus girls, and if so, how? We want to hear what you have to say.
Welcome everyone to the show. Hope you all enjoy. I am a boy mom, and like my background was kind of sheltered. I really didn't leave the yard till I was 13, 14. I'm not as sheltered as that with, never was sheltered with any of them, my boy being the oldest, because my childhood was a blessing and it was a lesson in itself. There was a lot of things that I wasn't taught. It wasn't even spoken. I guess due to me being the only child around for a long time till like 14. Then my little cousins them came. Then my brother came a year or two later. But always being around older folks, and you always hear kids, especially boys, look at how they interact with as far as family diversity and get involved with family. And I always say if a boy child is good to their mom and to their kids, they'll be good to anybody. They'll be good for a woman.
Mm.
Because I think if they have a good upbringing and if they value their mom just that much, they're going to expect that same value from any other woman. They always say a guy who don't have much for mom and a daughter, don't expect too much for him as being a man.
Going to influence how you raise your son.
I raised my son to be good to me, good to his sisters, good to his daughters, and I get good things back from females about my son. There are certain things he's not going to do. He never was a talkbacker. Like I say, I could slap him up or punch him. If he had something to say, he'd go in the room. And I've spoken to a lot of his friends as far as girls, and he ain't gonna argue with them. You ain't gotta worry about him putting his hand on him. He just he treats he embraces women. He got this thing with women. I don't care who it is. He's never gonna shake your hand. If you're a woman, he's gonna hug you.
Mm.
He's just a southern guy. He's a southern mother raised guy. I've always been transparent with them. It's never been bird and bees. It's always been straight talk. He's had some dealings with women, and they feel like him and I are too close. And I'm saying I made him. That's my child. If I can't talk to him and he can't talk to me, who else can he talk to?
So
Versus my girl.
the women that he dated felt like his
He too
relationship
close
with
to
you was
me.
too close.
Yeah. But maybe like one. And then, you have to look where it's coming from and what a situation may be, why they feel like that. Because I feel like if a mother wasn't in your life, you don't have respect for mothers.
Mm.
If a father's not in your life, you won't have a respect for dads. So it's only been one or two times. Because anybody who know me and Albert, they know. If you need to know something or you need to get something to him and you can't reach him for days, just call Marduk. He gonna call. He gonna text. He gonna tell me something versus him not telling everybody else nothing. I'ma hear from him.
So they know how close, I mean, what the relationship is like.
Oh yeah, yeah, they definitely know, and he speaks on it, and in doing so, I've gained a lot of respect for females, whether they just be friends or schoolmate who know him. They'll call me messenger, how Al, how Boozy or whatever doing. They have a lot of respect for me. I guess just being around him to hear how he have the love and respect for his mother, his
Mm.
sisters as well. Now he got girls, and I feel like he's doing great. He's been incarcerated since they've been born, but the things that he have done, he doesn't miss any birthday. He knows what they like. He just asked last week. He asked for a book to help him better engage, and I was talking. I told him about the
Oh,
pro
wow.
that
Just to engage with his children or
his
people in general.
no with his girls, because he said he feel like they'll start off in a conversation over the phone, and then he just lose them. And like I explained, I said, you've been away from, they know you're a dad, but you've been away from them. It's going to get better when in a few months, when y'all can be together, you can hold them, y'all can fall asleep together. But he's being proactive. He asked for a book, and I went on Amazon. I got him a pro dad bag, a pro dad's book, and I sent it to him because he's in a camp now, so he can get his mail.
Hmm.
He can get anything as long as it comes, directly from the store or Amazon, stuff like that. So he said he was reading the book, and what he's finding, that these little girls have technology when he calls. So he automatically know that's a major distraction. I guess it talked about it in the book. So in order to engage better with his children, he knows that it's going to get better when he come home and the tablets are put away, or they don't have mom phone trying to get on YouTube at the same time while talking to him. But he really surprised me when he asked for that. He's like, "Mom, can you help me?" And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "I can't keep the girls engaged." I said, "Son, they're only 4." I said, and then, it'll get better, but this is something that he want to do. He needed some cards. He usually make beautiful cards. He found one like dinosaurs and one like a princess. And he tries to send them a card every quarter. He don't call too much. He can do the video chatting now, so he feel like he can engage a little bit more with them seeing him while they're talking, because he'll know if they're distracted. But I think he'll be a perfect dad because he was good to his sisters and he was good to me.
Mm.
But I took a pleasure. If I could have 2 or 3 more boys like my boy, I'd do it all over again. He got into a situation, but he was grown. I never had to go. I
So
think
what
I
would you
went
do
to the
differently? What would you do
nothing,
differently?
nothing,
Okay. That's
honestly, nothing, because he did his schoolwork. He played sports. When Albert started tripping and falling, he was a grown man on his own, 25, 26 years old. So it don't make me feel, I a pat on my back. Parents and stuff is losing their kids are 13, 14, going to jail, dying. I felt like I did a real good job. There's always room for perfection, but yeah, here again, he was my first child. There's no manual with parenting, but I think my upbringing helped me raise him.
tell me more about that. That's what I want to hear. What
Um,
specific thing about your upbringing influenced how you raised him?
respect, being honest. I never had to really, there was no reason for me to like lie. I always could be open, whether it wasn't with my mom directly, but my 2 aunts. I could always be open with them. I always had chores. So when he came aboard, I used to make him, started off with keeping his room clean. You think he in the military, he sort his t-shirts white, black, his socks. He is so detailed that if he got 20 socks and he go in his drawer and he count 18, he know 2 is missing.
Mm.
He always took out the trash. He always was responsible for raking. His sisters them never had to take out. Pretty much all they do is take the trash out the room to the big garbage can in the kitchen, and he's responsible for that.
So
They
are
didn't
you
have.
okay with having gender roles as they described?
Yeah, because I came up like that. And
Okay.
my mom was a single mom also. My dad was in New York, but I came up in the household with my granny. So,
Hmm.
I mean, my granny ain't doing no yard work. My granny ain't taking out the trash. My granny ain't worrying about no tire or no oil change. But my granddaddy gonna get his homemade biscuit. He gonna get a meal. She gonna wash his clothes. Um, he gonna give up that money on Friday. Um, so I came up in a traditional house with grandparents, just like parents
Right.
who really, really enriched me. My grandma, my granddaddy, sometimes they didn't speak. My granddaddy used to tell my grandmama, Maddie, come on in this bed. You ain't sleeping on no chair. Things like that, making me feel like, okay, a relationship have dumps,
Right.
but they still
Right.
workable. You keep it inside here because nobody don't know what go on in here. We don't go out and we don't tell
Can't
nobody.
tell
Or
anyone
we not on the
exactly.
phone telling somebody. So,
So
I've always instilled in him, you have a mother and you have a sister. Don't do anything. That's before he had his kids. Raising. Don't do something to somebody else's daughter,
you wouldn't
sister
want
that you
done.
won't want done to your mom or your sisters.
That's some
And
sound
that was
advice.
always the philosophy.
Right. Right.
You don't want no boy dogging your girlfriend. Don't be out here. I mean, your sisters, them don't dog it. You don't want no man putting their hand on your mom or whatever the case may be. Don't do it to somebody else.
Mm.
So I'm thankful for my upbringing to help his upbringing because he's a top notch dude when it comes down to respect and gender roles and stuff like that. He's always wanted to be, the girls didn't have the dad there. He was the dad. And to this day, he would
They're
call
respecting
my
it.
little one. Yeah, they respect him big brother slash daddy. He can make Manesia cry from over the phone when he was in Charlotte. I mean, she just felt like anything she did, she didn't want to let Bubby down.
Mm.
But he took on a real serious role at a young age. And that was because he wanted to be there to support his mom. And I felt a lot of times things that he got into as he got older, he got into it to help his family in such a way, but it wasn't required. It wasn't required, but he wanted to be that one that I could pick up the phone and call, or his sisters them could pick up the phone and call, and he always be a resource for them.
I want to know, tell me this. Do you think that discipline is approached differently for boys versus girls? And if so, how?
It should be. Like, boy, Shaquille's a guy that he always liked to go outside. He was never a mouther back, or, you know, he didn't have that inside outside tone. He's gonna shut up and listen. So when Shaquille got in trouble, just me telling Shaquille he couldn't go outside to shoot ball or play with his Hess truck or his Tonka truck,
Hmm.
it seemed like, I mean, if I had beat him, me taking him from just putting him on punishment was worse than a beating.
And how about your girls?
Versus the girls with their hormonal self, their attitudes, you know, had to knock them up a couple times. 'Cause first of all, the mouth is what gets back to you. I mean, used to get me. And I find myself, I can count on one hand how much time I might have to tap Shaquille up versus my girls. One of my girls, I fight her. She was 18. I ain't really fight her, but we like a 20-year different. She was 18. I was 38. She tell me she grown. So I pretty much fight. I dealt with her like she was 38. She tell me that she'll never run up against me again.
You let her know what being grown
I just
look
had to,
like.
I had to let her know what being grown consists of and who you being grown to.
Mm.
I mean, I'm not a friend. I'm not an 18-year-old. I'm not somebody you playing with in the street. This your mama. This is the person who got you here to 18. So the discipline is different. A lot of guys like games and stuff like that. Shaquille, when he came up, he had, was it the PS, the Nintendo, and I think, help me go back, Nintendo, wasn't Atari was all time. I think it was the Nintendo series, and then it started to be the PS, think when he was must be 17 or something with his PS2 or 3. It never got all the way up to the 5. But for guys, like they like playing games and stuff like that. You take that away from them, it's better than even beating them.
Right, right. You knew
But
you
it
knew
really,
how to
it,
get to
it
him.
really does something for it. Yeah, yeah. Them girls need their behind cut for their mouth. Them guys, you have to take away when you take away what they really like. That's the best punishment and discipline for guys. That's how I feel.
Mm.
I second that emotion.
Hey, Deborah.
Hi, Deb.
Hey, y'all.
Welcome, man. So, we're discussing today, and we have a few other callers as well. Welcome, everyone. We're just talking about the differences between raising boys and girls, and this is completely anecdotal. I just want to know exactly how your personal experiences were. What are some things that you would like to share with everyone? And I listened to questions again, Deborah. I want to get a little insight from you because your son is how old now?
He's 13. He'll be 14 in July.
Okay, and reading the questions out for the listeners that can't see it. And some of the things I want to know, Deborah, is how have your own childhood experiences influenced how you parent your son? What role does a father or male figure play in shaping a boy's perspective on masculinity? And how do you handle societal pressures or advice on how boys should be raised?
Hmm.
So those are questions 1, 4, and 5 from our list.
Okay, so I'll start with one. How have your own childhood experiences influenced how you parent your son? For me, whew, it it's been a whirlwind with like the differences in how I was parented versus how I chose to parent.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally different than what I seen as a child. And well, let me say this. Depending on who I was with, it's different than what I seen as a child. So, like I don't beat my son. We used to get whoopings all the time. If one got a whooping, we all got a whooping. That's what my grandma would do. And and though it did make us better in a way, I choose like not to put my hands on my son for reasons of my own, just because as a woman, I don't want him to think that that's okay for a woman to like put her hands on him in moments of anger or anything of that nature, moments of emotion. So I don't do that. If anything, I do yell at him at times. I don't curse at him. I don't call him out his name. I don't, anything that's going to devalue him as a human or as a man, I won't do. But, I do raise my voice to him and I do talk to him, which is something I didn't get when I was, with my parent growing up as a child. I definitely got it from my grandparents, I got it from my godparents, but I didn't get it necessarily from my own parents. So it, that made me understand that that's something that I wanted to give to him because it wasn't something that I was given, and the struggles in life that I've had to face by, not being able to express myself. I don't want him to have those same struggles. So I allow him to express himself in moments where he may not be ready to, talk. I definitely give him space and time because I know sometimes that's important. And he always comes back and sits down with me to have a conversation. So I'm glad that I take that role of, giving him space and time before having a tough conversation or making him, open up. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, making him open up like about his emotions and things because I know that's hard for him and it's hard for me. So I know that because it's a hard thing for me to do, it's a challenge for him, but I try to show him every day like, though this is uncomfortable for me, this is something that we have to do. And I would rather do it with you and do it together so that we both learn at the same time versus, me not giving you these tools at all or me not trying for myself at all and then putting you in the same position to start out in life that I had to start out in, you know? So that's one big part of how I parent him, like the lessons that I learned as a child, how I'm able to parent him differently.
Hmm.
What role does a father or a male figure play in shaping a boy's perspective on masculinity? I think it plays a tremendous role. The one thing I never tried to do is be Carter's dad. Carter has a dad. He has a very active father, though he lives in a different state at this point in time. He takes him, he'll get him, you know, like if it's tough conversations regarding like grooming, things like that, when it comes to him being a young man, I'll tell him quickly, like, call your dad. Like I don't try to give him certain advice that I don't really understand, from a male's perspective. Or I tell him, if you don't feel comfortable calling your dad, call your godfather because he's really close to his godfather. So, either or, as long as there's a great male perspective there, I'm okay with that. And for me, I've given his dad reign of having him for a couple of years at a time, versus me being the custodial parent. It's kind of something we share. And we've never been to court, never been, child support, none of that. It's just we communicate. We do something so simple as communicate with each other, and we respect each other. So it works out really well. But his masculinity is a great importance to like how Carter is going to view the world, as he gets older. And so I let his dad, do a lot of that. Though I have conversations with him about being a young black man and how he needs to conduct himself and, things like that. I also let his dad have those conversations from a black male's perspective so that he understands firsthand what that may be like coming from his own father. So that part is really important to me. And then I've never been one to follow societal pressures or norms or anything like that. I don't look to other people outside of myself and who I pray to and the positive role models that I see when it comes to young men to really get an understanding of how I should, raise my son or anything in that manner. I raise him how I feel is going to be best for him to navigate the world and navigate life and navigate people. But I also leave him the opportunity to be open for his own ideas and his own thoughts and his own, you know, whatever he comes to, decisions to be made, things like that. I allow him that openness to really explore that. And I try to let him know, like, what you see as the norm from other people, like always go and follow what you feel. Like never what you see, but always what you feel for yourself. What's best for yourself. So I just kind of instill those type of things in him. So for me, that is, how I navigate those three questions when raising my teenage boy.
Did you address the third part?
Yeah, handling societal pressures. I feed the confidence into him, like for him to know he's good enough. Like you don't ever have to show up like anyone else. You don't have to be like anyone else. I want you to always like be who you are. Express yourself as who you are. Stand on that, and don't let what anyone else thinks or says change that. So just, that's really how, and I don't let him really do a lot of the, what are you, electronics? Like
Yes.
I've never been one to really buy like he has an Oculus. That's the one and only like game that I've ever brought him. He's never had like not a PS5. Like I don't see the need in spending that type of money on those type of things. I would rather him get outside and, go explore and, go figure out the world the way we had to figure out the world. You know?
Ask you all a question. This is something that I want to know personally. When and Nicole alluded to the importance of teaching, her son how to be respectful to women, how to treat them the way he would
Yeah.
want others to treat her and his siblings, right?
Right.
With that being said, what happens when you find yourself, your son, in a situation with a young lady who, like, not just speculating, who's been proven to be a person who's not good for your son. How do you have that conversation with him? Like
Sit
a
down and we
situation.
gotta talk.
What do you say?
Yeah, we gotta have a conversation. But
I want to know
so
what that conversation is like. Let's just say, for sake of discussion,
I had it.
I'm your 18-year-old son. I'm your 18, 19-year-old son, and I'm in love. I'm working my part-time job, taking my paychecks, buying jewelry for this young lady, taking her out to eat, doing everything for this young lady. And, this is it. This is my all. I've come in, I'm straight to the phone. You know how it is, that teenage love phase, right?
Uh-huh.
right,
And this is just a scenario, right? Your best friend calls you. Say, girl, that little girl that your son is wide open and in love with, she's sleeping with
My son.
my nephew or such and such. I know this girl. She's having sex with him and acting like your son. She's holding out for your son. And as soon as your son drops her off at night, this other guy sneaks in, blah, blah, blah. Just giving you some details, and you feel like this is a trustworthy source. Now, what conversation do you have with your son? I'm your son. Let's go.
Oh, Deborah, you go ahead.
okay, go ahead, Nicole. No, you go ahead.
No, hey, son. Mama
Hey,
needs to talk to you for a minute.
okay, what's going on?
It has been brought to my attention, and I've also been observing. You give Natalie a bunch of your time. You do a lot. You're only 18, 19 years old. I applaud the way you're treating, her, but something is not right.
How you mean something ain't right? What are you talking about?
Well, I've been observing some things, and you know what, mom, when mom picks up on something, she gonna let you know. But in addition, I got a call from a very reliable, that's why I said just like a family member. You're doing all this for Natalie, and Natalie is sleeping with Chunky. Now, this came from Chunky, family member, and my good friend. And I know she's not going to tell me anything.
Man, them people need to mind their business, mama. They need to mind their business.
No, they minding their business. That's why they brought it to me so that I could break it down to you
How am I their
before you
business?
get hurt.
They ever bought me some clothes? They ever bought sneakers when I
No,
played basketball? So how am I their business?
you're their business because if you was to find out some of these things that I'm telling you on your own, it might take you to a different.
Them people being messy, mama. That's all. They being messy.
No,
They don't like
no,
you.
they're not being messy, son. Listen to me. There's certain things that you can believe from certain people. And who I got this from, that was just one piece of it. I've been noticing, been peeping out some things, just really didn't know how to come out and tell you. But now that this has been brought to my attention, I'm going to sum it up for you. Now I'm your mama and I can't make you do anything. But what I'm doing right now, I'm letting you know you need to open your eyes, open your ears before it all comes out and you try to hurt this young lady or hurt somebody else for this young lady. She's not the only woman. And I
Okay.
don't think she's the one for you. But if that's who you continue to go along with and you find yourself getting hurt, just remember I came to you and gave you a full warning.
Okay. Deborah, what's your conversation with your son?
My conversation with my son would one be to start with, all right, so this girl you've been seeing, how do you feel about her? Like, what are your thoughts on her?
I mean, we're good. That's you know,
Okay. I see
that's
you
my
do a lot
girl.
for her. Does she reciprocate any of the things that you do for her to you?
Yeah.
Like what?
Everything, mama. When I go over to spend time with her, she comes spend time with me. You know, I get gifts for her. She gets stuff for me on my birthday, Christmas. That's my girl.
Oh, okay. All right. So how do you like and thinking about like your relationship, how do you view like cheating and things like that? How do you feel about stuff like that?
I really don't think about that.
Why wouldn't you think about that?
I mean, I don't cheat, so that's nothing I ever thought about.
Right. So how would you feel if someone cheated on you, since you say you don't cheat, right? Because we're all humans and people are going to do things that you can't control. So if someone cheated on you, how would you feel?
If I found out that they were cheating, I mean, I might be
Mhm.
upset at the minute, but that's their loss because I know what I bring
Right.
to the table, and I mean, it is what it is. That's her loss.
Okay. So you value yourself in the manner, and if I'm hearing you correctly, you know, y- you're better than staying with someone who would put you in that situation, right?
Yeah, if I know, what's going on, if I caught somebody cheating or doing something, I mean,
Okay.
obviously they want to be with that person, but I encourage people to be honest at all times. I can deal with a person that tells me, "Hey, I like you. We're kicking it, but hey, I also talk to somebody else." Or it is what it is. Just be honest.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
Well,
I
I
look.
see my lessons, they kind of took heed there. Okay, good. All right. Now, my next question for you is, do you trust me?
Yeah. What you
Okay.
mean?
I mean, as your mom, do you trust me? Do you trust that I would never steer you wrong, guide you wrong, and I would never tell you anything that's not for your best and highest interest?
Right.
Okay. So, you know, I had somebody, come to me with some information regarding your girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't put my foot in your business. I don't do any of that. But when I feel like it's something that you may need to know, then I'm going to bring that to your attention. How you handle it, I'm going to leave that up to you. But the information I got is that your girlfriend is not being faithful to you and that she is dealing with other people in a sexual manner outside of you and your relationship. It was from a reliable source. So I do want to let you know
Was
that.
this before
And
she started talking to me, or this going on now?
no, this is actually going on right now. And it's been going on just about the whole time you guys have been dealing with each other. So this is why I wanted to bring it to you, and I hate that I had to be the one, but I would rather it come from me so that I can really talk to you and make sure that you're understanding where I'm coming from and that you also understand your worth and that you understand, how to set boundaries with people and how to stand up for yourself no matter what situation you're in, right? So that's the information I got. I know that this is true and I know that this has been happening. So, I'm going to leave that to you on, talking to your girlfriend, figuring out what you want to do there. I just ask that you continue to, like you said, look at yourself with that standard, keep your standards high, keep your boundaries set, and make sure that no matter what the decision you make is for you and what's best for you because you got to love yourself first. Okay?
All right.
Love
All right.
that was good, Dave. Good, good, good.
So here's the
Thanks.
thing. I like your approach. Both of you. I like the approach that you took. Situation with your son, and it's different in my opinion. And again, this is anecdotal, so we're just talking about what we would have done personally, nothing research based.
Mm,
Right.
And I like that. Women are biased at the end of the day, still biased and protecting each other, right?
mm,
It takes a lot for women to flip on each other. And in this case, even with your sons involved, you all still kept it classy and didn't get nasty in
mm,
with this imaginary girl, right? And it's like you look for the positive, you look for a reason. And in contrast, a guy, if you all were my daughters and I knew that guy was cheating on you, right?
mm.
I'm not going to be that clean with what I'm saying to you.
Right. And
That's true.
that's the big difference. And
I'll
when
talk.
it's been
Listen,
vice
man.
versa,
Hey,
I
that little
understand.
fella. Listen, he can't come over here anymore. All right.
Right. Right.
I'll talk.
But for
So
True.
me, I never want to. I never want to put a woman down, right? Especially not to my son, because that's not a behavior I want you to exhibit. I don't want you to ever think it's okay to put somebody else down just because they're exhibiting a behavior that may not be, the best in the moment. I don't know why she's doing what she's doing, right? I know I don't like it for my son. I know
Right.
I'm probably boiling inside as I'm having this conversation with him. And the real inside me wants to go snatch her up by her little ponytail and ask her what in the hell she thinking and who she playing with, right? That's what I really want to do deep down inside as a mom. But if I'm really being honest with myself, I have to make sure I handle this situation in a way that also teaches him
Um,
the best way to handle a situation, you
yeah.
know? And that's with putting yourself in the forefront of whatever you have to address, like making sure that whatever you're doing, this is going to be for your highest good. And it's also going to make sure that you can, you know what I'm saying? Like your integrity and everything, whatever you feel like that stays intact.
Yeah, because I don't want to get out of context. And then when a week or two later, they're on vacation. Now I'm looking
Right.
stupid. So
Right.
no, I'm a mom. I'm coming to you as your mom. But the decision you make is going to be the decision you have to deal with. But I've
Right.
already set the record straight, and because I've seen it too much where parents get involved, cussing out the guy, the girl, and these two back together like this is normal. I mean, what happened? Oh, you had thought? That's what you had thought? So my my whole approach is I'm gonna tell you from my side because you're my child. I should be able to come to you and let you know what I know, and then you make the best decision. Even though it may kill me, it may really get the best of me, but you just got to keep up them walls. You got to put up that barrier for yourself.
Okay.
Right.
Welcome,
Right.
Karen. Welcome, Kia. So can you see the questions that we have posted?
Hi, Karen.
Hey there.
So
Hi,
I just
Karen.
wanted to say really quickly before
Go ahead.
Karen goes,
Hmm.
I just wanted to say, as to what Nicole was saying, like also as a woman, I would pray that, and I move in a certain type of way because I'm raising a teenage son. You get what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So I
Hmm.
would pray that the example that I'm showing him of what a good woman like really like, and I'm not saying if you move any differently than how I move, you ain't no good woman. Let me make that clear, right? But somebody with standards, values, morals, you know what I'm saying? That really just, just a wholesome, good person, good girl. Like these are characteristics and things that you should see out of her. You may see different, right? And you may still love her, whatever. But core things like, not sleeping around not sleeping around with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like being mindful of like how you talk to people, how you get what I'm saying, interact with people, how you treat people, just different things like that. Are they respectful when they walk in a house full of people? Do they say hello? Do they speak? You know, like these are the type of things. If you're dealing with a woman that can't do simple things, you know, respect wise, people wise, respect for themselves wise, then you really need to be questioning why you're dealing with them. And because that's not, you know what I'm saying?
But are those things considered like when we talk about values, do we agree that families have different values?
Families do have different values, very much so. Very much
Okay.
so. But the way
So,
you was raised
right.
and the way that you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to, like, I would never, for me, the way I was raised, I can't be with somebody that doesn't have just common core respect for other people.
Okay.
Like, period. That's not something that I can compromise on. If you walk into a room, especially because I'm family oriented, you get what I'm saying? I love people. So if I walk into a room and these are people that I know or even people that I don't know, if I'm the one entering that room, I'm going to speak. Regardless of who speaks back, I'm just going to speak because that's just respect. That's common
Right.
courtesy. And so that's the way I'm raising you. And so not to say you can't be with someone who don't do that, but I want you to question why they don't do that. I want you to understand why they don't do that if it's going to be something that you accept. If they just walk around not having common courtesy. What is it behind that that you can accept that makes that okay for you? Like I'm just one of those people that I'm not gonna like write you off because of it, but I am gonna question it so that I can try to understand it.
So that's a peeve for me. I want to revisit that. But Karen, we want to hear what you have to say. I have a list. Can you see the questions that are listed?
Yes, I
All right. And we chose any three that you would like to address. But, and I want to know what number so our listeners will, please read the question when you respond because the listeners, of course, can't see it. And I want them to know what you're responding to.
Okay, so number three, do you think discipline is approached differently for boys versus girls? If so, how? As for my house, yes. And the only reason why I say yes, I have a girl and a boy, so I think I can speak on this. With my son, I think I was harder on him only because I think that see like everything going on in society, it was just that, okay, you can't go down this path. And with my daughter, it was more like me laid back, only because I think it was because too, at one point I saw him hanging with the wrong people and everything. So it was me being harder. I don't know. I don't know if it's everybody or, but I've heard it like a lot from different people that they do treat the boys harder than the girls. I don't know.
You think so?
Yeah, I
It
think
was
so.
vice versa for my
Yeah.
household,
For the
but
people that we had, it was vice versa in
Yeah.
that. And I think in your case, and this is why I wanted anecdotal. I wanted everybody's personal experience, right? And this is me being the observant uncle, right? What I think is your daughter was so amazing as a person, right? So I've known Kimora since before she was born, of course,
Right.
but she was a good baby. Like she's always been a good child, a very well behaved child. She never ever worried about others. And I think there were certain things that you didn't have to worry about. Like she was not going to be the little girl who wanted to sneak out to go to a teen party. She'd be in her room reading a book.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it,
And she's
yeah,
not trying to get money for this outfit. She would get money for a cookbook or to try a recipe or make something, right?
exactly.
So I think the women that spoke in other episodes talked about how when their daughters went through that teenage phase where they called them a bees and they wanted to fight their daughters. Like,
And see, and the crazy thing is, I haven't went through that, and I'm like, okay, my child is about to go to college. Maybe she might go through a phase where she wild out. But like as of right now, I haven't went through any of that. And even with my son, even like him getting in trouble here and there,
hmm
he never cussed me out or nothing like that.
right,
You
right,
know,
right. He's
ever.
a
And
respectful kid. Yeah.
never, yeah, never raised his hand at me, nothing like that. And probably because he knew I probably would break his hand if he had tried it. But yeah, it's definitely the other way for me. Because
If you had to ask your kids who was your favorite, what would they say?
my daughter would say Keon, and Keon would say her.
Okay, that's what I asked. See, in
Yeah,
contrast, Nicole, all of her kids would say Shaquille's her favorite, her boy, her only boy, That's her favorite. That's her son slash husband slash brother slash.
uh huh.
When she talks to her son, she smiles the whole time. She laughs. But when she's on the phone with her daughter, it's like a time bomb. She's waiting for them to say the wrong thing and she just reels them back in. But she is there. They could not live without her. So they call her every day, every morning. And I think it's good as parents when we see the needs in our kids. Like they all have different needs and how we approach them.
Right.
But you're not off the hot seat yet. You still have to give us two more questions, Karen.
Okay. So let me look. Oh gosh, how do you handle societal pressures or advice on boys on how boys should be raised? Oh gosh, yeah. People. I guess with my kids, it was more so me being like, I wouldn't say like a friend or whatever because they knew I was a parent,
Mm-hmm.
but I always got criticized on, oh, you let them kids say anything to you. No, I don't let them say anything to me. They
Yeah,
don't
you
say anything to
encourage
me, but
communication.
I
Right,
allow them to tell me exactly what's on their mind.
right,
And now that kind of translates to with Keon. He think that he's my friend and he don't like say little things and people will be like, that's your son talking like that? I'm like, it don't bother me because it's not disrespectful or
right,
anything. He just joking around. But like say for instance, like the other day I put up on Facebook, I put the screenshot of him calling me beanhead. Just something playful. Like, oh no, I don't
mhm,
play with my kids like that. Why not? You know, that's how I see it. That's how I get across to them and that's how they tell me things before outside can tell me
right.
anything
And
about them.
which is
So
important.
yeah.
So
So
basically, you above the outside influence from society.
yeah. Yeah, I don't give into that because I've heard that since they've been born. Like even with them growing up and I didn't buy toys. I just didn't buy toys. If I bought toys, it's something educational, like a VTech game, something
Mm-hmm.
that's going to teach them something.
Hmm.
And I got criticized about that, but it was like, okay, these my kids. So like you can say what you want to say.
And you know what you want to prepare them for, right?
Yeah. So
Now,
I
now I will
give
say
that type of pressure.
I'm considered society in this. The only thing that I would say to you and all mothers of boys, and I get cussed out all the time, but I'm cool with that, is drop those boys off, right? Nikki, you know how I thought about that forever.
You know how I feel about it.
And I would tell Karen the same thing, but Karen reminds me of my mom at an early age, right? She is asking me a million questions, but that made me lie to my mom. It made me lie to her about what it was like when she dropped me off. When in reality, shoot, man, we would get a pack of donuts. We making some Kool-Aid. I'm hanging out, but just riding bicycles in the neighborhood and playing with the guys. I'm coming in 11, 12 o'clock at night in elementary school, but he knew I was safe, in the neighborhood with everybody else. And,
Thank you.
and we hung out,
But
but
see, my nerves bad. My nerves bad. Like I don't call them. Like even if they were to go on the other side, I don't call them or anything. But like hearing my child call me and be like, "Hey, I want to come home because such and such happened." Yeah, like I raised him a certain way, and I know that that's the other side. But then at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, now being a responsible parent, you ain't supposed to do this. So why are you doing this? Why are you
it's a
allowing it?
part of, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, it's a part of childhood development, right? So, you know, I appreciate it as I grew older. And sometimes as parents, we want our kids to have all of the things that we didn't have. But in doing that, sometimes we prevent them from having the things that we did have. And a lot of the struggles that I went through at a certain time as a young man, I think molded and contributed to a lot of qualities that can be viewed as positive as an adult, right? So of course, typical, hey, I'm dropping my child off for dad, right? An ideal weekend for a mom is when I get there to pick him up, he's coming to the car. Hey, how y'all doing? What's up, champ? Greeting him with a hug, you know, coming in the house, grabbing the bags out the car for you, making sure you all right, being cordial, nice, maybe even a little flirt. Boy, get out of my face. Something, funny, right? Hey, what y'all doing today? Hey, we gonna ride to the game tonight. It's Friday. Go grab a little bite to eat. And tomorrow morning I'll take him to get a haircut. We might clean the car together, go see grandma, hit the mall. He needs some sneakers or dress clothes for an event, whatever. Okay, Sunday morning we going to church. Sunday afternoon is dinner. Hey, when you leave your grandma's house, he should be ready about 6:30, 7 o'clock on Sunday, right? Slip him a little $50 in his wallet. That's a perfect weekend, right?
Mhm.
But in reality, hey, what really happens, you get dropped off to dad's house. The little boys really don't want to be around their dad. Like it's cool. I'm here with my family, right? But what 14-year-old boy wants to be with their daddy
Right.
versus, hey, I'm at my daddy's crib. Hey, daddy, you got a couple dollars on you? Here's $20, son. If you need me, I'm going to be down at such and such with my boy. At 14, dad might be 35 to 40 years old, right? Hey, my son is here with me this weekend. Oh, he and his cousins went to the game. This is what little boys want to do. Hey, dad, you can drop us off to the school. All right. Then we dropped off at a game. We trying to talk to some girls and sneak a kiss under the bleachers. Probably trying to sneak to some little girl's house who's sleeping with her cool auntie that weekend, right? Now, at the end of the night, I come back to Granny house. I might get in about 12, 1 o'clock, wake up the next morning, grab some cereal, get a little something to eat. These are boys. Some of them are nasty. Hey, I might wash, I might not. Brush your teeth, wash your face, at it again, hanging out. Hey, daddy, I can use the car right quick. You know, you wash the car, sneak a drive, just right around the corner, pull in the backyard, drive to my auntie's house next door. That's cool for a young boy. You know what I'm saying? Now,
But at the same time, it's like, okay, you you could have gotten dropped off when you've been little or whatever, and your mom, she probably knew in the back of her mind, like, oh, well, they ain't about to do nothing or whatever. But
hmm
she probably knew, like, okay, well, he has family around that's going to make
right,
sure that
right,
he's okay.
right.
That's different. That's
Well, she
different.
knows that, okay, it's a village down there, right? She would cuss my daddy out now and talk trash. Like, what did y'all have to eat? You had to walk to your auntie's house and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, man, we ate, you know, and I literally would walk to my aunt's house a quarter mile down the street, have breakfast. And you know, as kids back in the 80s, you literally can hang out and eat in the streets all day. Like somebody got a pear tree, plum trees, you know, little berries or whatever. We would do little knickknacks. You wash somebody's car, get $3. Now we can buy some cookies and chips, or you know, just being with your friends all day. Coming back at night, my cousin's house or somebody's house. You know, older folks back then. Hey, y'all ate yet? Y'all had something to eat? No, ma'am. Here you go. You get a slice of cornbread from anybody. You know, so it was different as far as eating, but just the social aspect of being with my dad's family on this side was rewarding enough for little boys. So, and I'm not saying that the other things should not happen. That's ideal, you know, but if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world is what I want mom to realize. It's not the end of the world. It's good. Oh yeah, I picked my son up. Yeah, his daddy bought him this. His daddy did that. He did this. He did that. The love is more important. The love and communication, I think, is very important with childhood development because those sneakers and gifts and things like that, they'll outgrow them and they're going to forget about a lot of it, right? But again, you only gave us two. We need one more question from you.
Can I chime in on that
Yeah,
topic
yes,
before
please.
Karen speaks?
It's not always
So what happens when you do the drop off? The child doesn't get the sneakers, the child doesn't get the money, and the child doesn't get the time. And then you got to pick your child up and you got to find the answers to the why not. It's draining.
Because those are your expectations. But what about
No,
the
that was
child's
his
my thing.
expectations?
expectation. That's his expectation because he came to me. He came back home and he told me. So it had to bother him to the point that he came back and shared it with me.
Yep. Yep. And see, and that's the thing. Like, guys don't be thinking that these kids talk, and
They
they
do.
do. They do. They come back, and my big thing was, okay, I don't work all day. I don't work all week. Why I gotta run you down to drop your child off to you? Why you can't meet me someplace? Why I gotta come all the way to the country
Hmm.
to drop off, and then I gotta come back and pick them up? No, like, listen, trust me, I'm the mom. If the person is responsible, here, you can have these kids because I need a break. But it wasn't that.
But
Allegedly.
Karen, the dropping
Allegedly.
off part
Allegedly.
wouldn't even bother me. The dropping off, the picking up, because I could have dropped mine off all the time. I think the best time that they had, like Coach Sean said, just being
Yeah, with the
at the granny
cousins,
house
that granny's
with the
house.
cousins because nothing else took place.
Yeah, nothing mattered for them. They were there, like, and you know,
But it did matter. It did matter. It
well,
did matter.
and I'm
Of
not
women.
accusing any of you. I'm not accusing any
Right.
of you all. What the guys will think, no matter what now, no matter what, the guys are always going to think that women are putting something in the kids' head. Them kids don't care about that.
Always.
You
Yeah.
got
Oh
in the
yeah,
car
I
and
heard
asked
that
them
all
what
my
y'all
life.
did. And a
Yeah.
lot,
All my
but,
life.
and also now, you know me, I'm fair. And that's why I say allegedly if a
Right.
man's not here to defend himself.
Uh-huh.
My mom used to ask me, what did y'all
Right.
eat? Did
Right.
y'all such and such? And I knew she was just concerned. So again, I'm going to lie and say, yeah, we did X, Y, Z. And a lot of times now I always ate, you know, but I didn't care about the things that she cared about. You see what I'm saying?
But
So,
see, and then it's a little bit different in my case too, because you know what Kimura is vegan. So it was almost like if
oh
she
yeah,
didn't
that
go
wasn't
down
even
there,
invented back
it,
then. Not saying
yeah,
it was invented,
and
but kids
see, and
were,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah. So you,
And
that's
that's
an
what I'm saying.
extenuating
Like she
circumstance
used to, yeah, and she used to cry.
because
And
she
she
doesn't
used
have
to
anything to
say,
eat.
like, yeah, she used to cry. And I'm like, okay, this is my child. Let me go get my child and get her something to eat.
Yeah,
Because
that's different. That's different.
you're trying to force her to eat something that she doesn't.
Right, right.
No.
I get that. I get that. Now you asked one more question, Karen, and then I'm going to revisit what Deborah was saying earlier. Go ahead. You asked one more
Okay.
question.
So what are some misconceptions about boys that you'd like to address as a mother? Mm, I think the biggest one would be all boys are not mama's boys. And like all women don't coddle their sons either. Like
They do, but go ahead.
you, so you think that? You really think?
Yeah, I do.
Why?
Because they don't see it. They don't see it as coddling. Like,
Mm,
okay, for example, and I had this conversation with a few of my teachers, right? And they denied it, immediately denied it until I started giving them examples, right? So we talked
mm,
about a lesson being learned, and they were like, well, I know you care about us. No, I promise you I don't care. But y'all really don't know me, because when I say something and you don't listen and you choose to do it your way, that's your bed. You made it. You have to lie in it. That's how I am. But men take a different approach. So we just gave an example, you know, a young man not getting up in time to catch the bus, right? Get up out this bed. You know, you might pull the covers off of him, or you need to get up. You got to such and such, right?
mm-hmm,
The approach is different. And this, again, we're talking just anecdotal and because what we experience molds our thoughts. I missed the bus once living with my granddaddy, right? I
mm-hmm.
asked him if he could take me to the school. He said, what school? He said, boy, I raised 5 kids and never had to go to the school for them, and I'm about to start now. And he had 2 brand new vehicles, right? You know what he did?
Mm-hmm.
He said, if you don't get a ride before I open the store, you coming over to the store. My granddaddy made me
You are.
work.
Yeah.
He made me work all day long. I was sweeping, stacking the store, stacking sodas, beers, burning boxes, everything. I had to work all day long, right? And he never went to the school, never even thought about going to the school. Because once he told me, he knew that one day I wasn't going to kill me. And the lesson learned was much more valuable, right? From that day forward, I never missed a bus. I never
But
missed a
see, that's the
bus.
thing. But
You have to
I
get
would do
up.
that. You know what I'm saying? Like
But,
I would do that. I'm not.
but
You're not.
how many women wake their goddamn sons up forever through graduation?
No.
How many of them wake them up through graduation? How many of them jump up and have something made for breakfast for them? And
No,
then
sir.
not just high school, be in the college. And then we wonder why these young boys aren't independent. And just think about it. Now, remove your sons from the situation and think about some of the men that you may have dated or encountered.
Mhm.
And you're like, well, God, dog. You know, it's like, okay, I can see if you were raised traditionally and you're not one that cleans a lot, but at least you're going to be getting out here working and paying some bills. Like, but what happens, these young boys are so dependent on their mom that they just become dependent on women. And I say a lot of coddling in that, and not saying something's wrong, right? As long as there's something within that process that's going to prepare them. As long as something
Yeah, I don't believe in it. Like I just with little boys, like it's hard to even see outside of my son because I tell him all the time, but like, listen, you a man, when you get in your own place, you get your place for yourself. I don't want to hear nothing about, oh, you going half and half with this woman. No, I don't want to hear none of that because guess what? And if you go on, you move with a woman, guess what? She can put your behind out at any time. So
right.
I don't do that with him. I've never done that with him. So he know, like, get your own stuff. Like, when he didn't have a car, I don't want to catch you driving no woman car. None of that stuff. He going to get his own car in his name. All that stuff. Nah, no, I don't believe in that at all.
Okay. Just want to make sure, but this is what we talk about as far as the difference in how they're, well, what the expectations are. But I do want to thank you for answering the questions. I want to get back to what Deborah talked about earlier. And we all have different values, right? So what, one of you have some echo in the background. So what Deborah was talking about earlier is, the common decency and walking in rooms and speaking and things like that, right? So we have different core values and we prioritize different things. And and I get that. I've had experiences and I lived in a large city and I realized how people are molded differently because yeah, you can speak. My grandfather made it mandatory you speak. There's always yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes or no sir, things like that. But as far as the social interaction, some people take offense to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I met some friends this weekend. We hung out. She was like, "Hey, do you mind my roommate college to be joining us?" Right. As soon as I met them, you know me, Karen and Nikki. We always talk about it. When I meet people, even the men, they call me old school and unk. I'm gonna grip their hands, pull them close, and embrace them. Right. When I meet women, whether I've known them my whole lives or not, they're gonna get a hug. It might be a homecoming hug. It might be the church hug.
Yep.
But some people get offended by that, and some people really aren't accustomed to people being in their personal space. They don't like people touching them. They don't like touching other people. So I had to realize that, it's not a better or worse. It's just different. But I know that some people become judgmental when your values are different than theirs. Oh, he don't even do X, Y, Z. Yeah, but he don't snort coke either, and y'all do that. You see what I'm saying? So are we judging others based on what we do differently? And who's to say whose value rule or you know, should be the norm?
Well, I guess I've molded everybody at work with me because it was the majority of our team. They are
Didn't
from
speak?
up north, and
Right.
like I'll walk in and I'll say good morning. Nobody said good morning.
Yeah, they don't do that up
So,
north a lot of
so
places.
what I do is what I did in return was when they came up to me to speak to me, I
Yeah.
ignored them, like completely ignored them, walk around them, everything. I'm like, Karen, so you don't see me right here? No, I don't, because when I spoke to you, you didn't say anything. So
But the
now
way
when I
to do
say
that,
good morning,
they speak.
everybody say good morning.
You took a passive aggressive approach, right? The way to do that is do you all have a common supervisor or manager? So now you
We got it
speak to
almost at the same director.
the same director, you speak to your director, and not like you're telling on someone, just to create office norms, right? Say, hey, can we get a suggestion box? Just for me, if it's not a problem with anybody else, can we consider having this as an office norm? And if you all have something that you want to consider, please mention it, right? And these would be some of our office norms. Just and
Man,
acknowledge that
I ain't
you
even going through
understand
all
that.
that.
I know, but now
Uh,
you sitting there ignoring them people and they need some work done. And you're going
They
to
ignore me.
intimidate others because you're a 6 feet tall black woman.
And guess what? And they call me one done call me aggressive. And guess what?
See,
And what I had to do was, and I checked her in Teams in front of everybody.
see,
Like, okay, so no,
abrasive,
because for one,
aggressive black woman.
no, but at the same time, before I even started ignoring them, what I
Yeah.
did was, good morning, and no one said anything. Well, good morning, light. Good morning, death. I would say things like that, and they would look at me like, "Oh, this girl crazy." But guess what? Now they talk. Now they say good morning back. My thing is, good morning ain't hard. You know what I'm saying? You acting like I'm telling you, tell me your whole life story. I
You're
don't
not.
care. Like, I don't care. Just say hello. You don't even gotta say good morning. Say hi. That's it.
Acknowledge. Well,
Bye. You know what I'm
but you
saying? Like,
understand this, right? How many people do you encounter in a day?
a bunch.
Now, think about a person who lived in a large, large city who caught a train with, they probably walked past 500 people going down the subway, right? Just to get to their train. Train stops, a couple hundred jump off, a couple hundred jump on. So you're not doing any social interaction in a setting like that. Now you're walking down the street with hundreds of strangers. You're not
But
waving
but
and hailing.
but I know what you're about to say.
But
But
you
the
know what I'm
truth
saying?
is
It
that,
becomes habit forming. It just becomes habit forming. I don't think it makes them a bad person or to say it's a negative character trait. It's just habit forming.
yeah,
So,
but then the people that you work with, you spending most of your time with.
right,
So you like, I spend most of my time at that job outside. Like, I feel like sometimes I be at work more than I be home.
right. At least,
So
yeah,
it's
when
like,
you're awake.
okay, say hi. You know what I'm saying?
I
So
get it. I get what you're saying, that part. I just wanted to address that when Deborah was saying, if a girl does not do those things, she's going to have her son consciously aware of it, right? But are you going to have your son looking at her differently if she consumes an excessive amount of alcohol, if she smokes cigarettes or smokes marijuana? Would like
yeah,
who
yeah,
values
because
what
guess what?
here and how
My
important?
child was side eye somebody who like, I
No, I
mean,
just gave that as an
like,
example. Now I'm just saying because different people prioritize different things, you know. And if one thing is a deal breaker, but we allow others, then I think it would serve us better to teach the kids and help them understand that people are different as opposed to better or worse. Some people think that, oh, this person is bad because of this, or they're worse than us because of that. And then, if you want to start peeling some layers back, you do this, you do this, you do that. Those things are bad as well. But I'm sorry, I didn't want to get too far off. So as a census, and
I
this is
think
good,
that's
Karen,
why it's important to actually travel because you see other
different, right,
cultures
cultures
and stuff.
and how people do things, their interactions. But I like that the difference in approach between you all agree, census, that you do raise your boys differently than how you raise your girls, though.
Hmm.
And you miss our little simulation, Karen. We talked about how do you handle your son being in love and you are notified from a very reliable source that his sweetheart is cheating on him, having sex with someone else.
Oh Lord, I
How do you have that? This courageous conversation is needed. How do you have that conversation with your son? That's what we were doing earlier.
I would tell him. I mean, but I wouldn't come out and tell him like, hey boy, your girlfriend sleep with such and such. I wouldn't say it like that, but I would try everything to kind of like lay it on him smoothly. Cause yeah, oh gosh, that's hard.
Mm.
That's hard. But I mean, I would tell him like, listen, hey, this is young love, blah blah blah.
Will you act differently towards the young lady? So when she comes over, now you come home, she's sitting on your sofa with the remote in her hand, like they always do. What's your reaction?
I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't act different towards her. In my mind, she would be getting a side eye. I'm like, oh, this girl got a lot of nerve. But, I don't think that I would like blatantly,
Treat her differently in front of him.
yeah, no.
Okay. That's,
No.
that's
Because that's who he choose to be with after he find out, then, hey, you know,
welcome. We have a few other callers that are coming in. And if you create your profile and do not put a name, it shows up with some jumbled letters. So I want to formally greet everybody, but I don't have your names there. And welcome, Ms. Shanta, for joining us. And we're just talking about the differences between raising boys and, you know, raising girls and boys and how our experiences shape that. So I want to know this. How do you all prepare your sons, right, for challenges that he might face as he grows into adulthood? Like, and one of the things that I talked about briefly was, cheating, right? Or breakups. I wouldn't, because we can't say the girl will always be the one that cheats. He might be the one that cheats. But breakups, because rarely do kids enter childhood relationships that flourish into adulthood and marriage. So what are some things that you might do? How do you prepare your son for some challenges he might face as he grows into adulthood? And it could be relationships, it could be job hunting, layoffs. Like, what are some things that you all, and if you haven't considered it, that's fine as well. But what are some things that you have done, or how do you prepare your son for it?
learn how to do everything yourself, I guess. Like, don't depend on the woman for nothing. You know how to cook. You know how to do a resume. You know, do applications, all that stuff. Yeah. You need to learn how to do that stuff yourself. Don't
Depending,
depend on nobody. Yeah.
never give up.
Hmm.
All no is not a bad no.
Yep.
All breakups is not a bad breakup. You don't have to break up with somebody on bad terms always.
Hmm.
You go to a job, you don't get it, don't question it. Really, that's just not the way you need to be. But you have to keep moving. You have to keep, because sooner than later, the door's going to open, the perfect girl is going to pop up. Just never give up. Do what you can do for yourself. Take care of yourself. Once you can take care of yourself, all the other stuff really don't matter. They're an addition. They're an addition. That's a big thing. My girl and my boy.
Hmm.
So you all have daughters as well, right?
Yeah.
What are some differences with what you have to do with your daughters as opposed to your sons?
Hmm. I have
I,
2 daughters, and they night and day. They all, like you say, they all require something different. But my girls was much needier than my son.
Hold on, somebody has a lot of background echoes going on.
Probably me. My girls is much needier than my son. My boy is going to try to figure out a lot of things. My girls, they have to hear it from me. And then one, she's going to hear it from me, but then she's going to try and take the rough route, hard street, you know, cobblestone walking. That's just what she's going to do. But she's not going to give up. She's gonna hit some hard stumbles because of the choice, but she's not going to give up. Uh, I don't know. That's all I can say for that one. You can see.
I, I think with my daughter, and I think I raised her based on, of course, based on my life experiences. So, like, listen, I went through this, and if you don't want to go through this, this is what you need to do. And of course, everybody's gonna force their own way, but with my daughter, it's way easier to talk to her. Like how you explain with your daughters, like they have to take the hard way. It's the opposite for me. My son got to take the hard way. My daughter, she listens. So knock on wood, I had to tell her nothing out of the way yet, but
I'm thankful that I don't have daughters, and I know a daughter wouldn't want me as a dad. And again, just personal experiences. I know I was as a young man and what I wanted to do and some of the things I was able to convince young ladies to do. And I definitely wouldn't want my daughter to be with anybody like me, at least at a young age. Older, 30 plus is different, but in my teenage years, definitely not.
right.
Again, I want to thank you all. Y'all gave me some good insight, and the listeners got to hear some differences, of course, and a lot of commonalities in what we're doing with these young men and raising boys. Now, right now, from what you all have done in raising your boys, what are you looking for in a spouse for them? What are some qualities that you think your boys need? Knowing your sons, what are some qualities that you think a young lady must possess, you know, to marry your son?
She got to be clean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I want to be smart. Like, just got a little
I'm
bit of
assuming.
street smart too. Like,
What would her like patience have to be like in handle? Because I mean, I was around your son, and I felt like I was literally with a celebrity. I'd never seen anything like that in my life, and it's been
yeah,
years ago.
and it's funny. Like his girlfriend now,
Mm-hmm.
like they they're both they were both popular kids. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So, but she already talked to me about that. She was like, and these girls, they do such and such or whatever. And I'm like, he got to be with somebody strong too,
Okay,
because
that's what I was getting at.
yeah, yeah, he has to be with somebody strong because like Keon is a social butterfly. Like talk
Mm-hmm.
to everybody. No,
Yes.
he don't have. I mean, like no stranger,
Mm-hmm.
no stranger. And that was a big thing with him coming through school too. It was like, okay, the teacher would always call. It wasn't him getting in trouble. It was because he talked too much.
Yeah, he does get along with everyone. I saw him at a Fort Dorchester Dutch Fork football game, and this boy stopped. He got stopped about 14 times by everybody. I'm talking about old men, teachers,
Yeah.
students, every color, every sex, white, black, girls, boys, everybody. And he was just a bubbly kid, where, the
And
typical
he's still like that.
hoodie with
And
shorts on
sometimes
at a
I hear,
freezing cold game. I said, all right, I know these kids are special, but just watch them do what
yeah,
they do. And he had a backpack on, I think, and just laughing and talking to everybody. So I wondered, so the things that you would tell a young lady or look for is she has to have patience with his personality, have a certain level of intellect, and what was
got
the third? And being
gotta be
clean.
clean. And because of course the raised around, I have a bunch of uncles, but
Mhm.
in our immediate household, it was women.
Right.
So, like you said earlier, you was like, little boy is nasty. Oh no, not him. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So that's one thing. And like taking forever to get ready, that's him. But
Mm.
yeah, I don't know what else with the
Ladies,
girl.
what are some advice or some qualities that you think a young lady should possess? Be with your sons, Nicole, Deborah.
Well, Albert he's a clean guy. I don't know. He's really clean. He's color coordinated. I mean, his mind he's on beat with his personal belongings. It's unbelievable. I don't know when it started. I really can't tell. He's the only one. Like he never shared a room or anything with nobody. So, but he's very precise. I'm not going to even speak on the ladies. Oh my God. I mean, old, some on the age with me. I mean, he got a gift for gab. He really, he's a really, he doesn't get himself work up, but Albert has to have somebody like his mom, meaning firm. If he say yeah, she got to say no and mean no. And he said that to me maybe about 2 months ago. We had a little sidebar conversation and I was asking him, different characteristics in different people. And I asked him about one individual and he's like, I know she ain't going. He's like, I can be passive to these ones here. They're going to go along anything to make me happy versus this one here. She don't care if I get mad. This is just what it's going to be. And he said to me, he said, that's what I need. He said, because I'll be in trouble.
Yep.
He's because I got a problem with the females, and I got a problem. Yeah, I got a bad problem.
What's the problem?
He's a ladies' man. He's a real ladies' man. I mean, I'm just learning a lot of things about him, but I mean, he ain't got no problem with that area. Period. And that could be good and that could be bad. But one thing I do know that he'll know how to treat them, and I think that's where it all comes from. He knows how to treat a woman. He knows how to communicate with a woman. Albert got in some trouble some time ago. First incident in high school, 11th, 12th grade year. And I had hemorrhoids removed, and Albert had to go downtown Charlotte after 30 days to a hearing. And the story that he told when he got in trouble, he was pretty much being a middle person. He sat in the room. I'm slumped over, cold in Charlotte, cold, one cold day. And the guy told me, he said, your son is going to get in trouble. He said, but one thing I do know, he's a stand-up guy. He's not slouching. He said, I'm looking at this story and this guy's sitting up. He's looking me in my eye and the same story. He said, it's real hard for kids to tell you the same exact story that they told 30, it's like 35 days ago. He said, but I can respect him. He said, so mom, whatever you did a stand-up job, because whether he gets in trouble, whether his consequences to come, whatever his actions are, he gonna let you know. He takes responsibility for his action.
Mhm.
And that's a great quality.
Yeah, it is. It is. A lot of people, adults as well, don't
Take accountability.
accountability for their actions. That's a
And he
that's
always
a
told
quality
me,
to
he
have.
said, mom, I don't care if I did something wrong. If I did it, I'm own up to it. I just got to deal with what comes behind it.
Mm. A lot of people aren't like that.
No, no.
So, and these are some things that I'm always interested to know, like the woman's perspective when it comes to doing certain things. And ladies, do you see how easily I can say I want to hear a woman's perspective? Right? Don't be like some of the guests that we have. They don't want to hear anything men have to say, even if it involves men. They would tell us that we're wrong. That's not how it is. This is how it should be. X, Y, Z. But I do like to hear your perspective and see what you all think about certain things and how you process it. Is Deborah still here? I haven't heard from Deborah. I just wanted to make sure she wasn't trying to speak and was not able to get in.
He said yes for some.
Oh, okay.
When does he have phone issues?
Okay. Yeah. She typed her responses for the listeners. Deborah said to deal with her son, a woman must have patience, cleanliness, funny, smart, and to be open-minded.
Yeah.
Those things are important. So, and I want to know this, ladies. How do you ensure your son feels loved and supported? You know, even when life gets busy, I think he goes through some things. How do you reassure that to him?
Mama
Always tell
love
him.
you.
Yeah. Always tell him.
And I know that they know, you know, I always say that a man can go to court for murder. And if nobody's in the courtroom,
Mama gonna be there.
mom will be there. And that support, that support speaks volumes and shows him a lot, you know.
Albert is Albert is institutionalized. In every facility he gets transferred to, his mama have her boots on the ground. I visit every facility. I don't care where it is. If it's just one time, you know, I
Right.
let him know I'm concerned. I want to see, you know, I don't want to hear from him on the phone. I want to look him in his face. Because, see,
Yeah,
I
put
can
your
tell
eyes
if
in his
something
face.
bothering my child.
Right, right.
Yeah, I can tell if he's stressing about something, stuff like that. So he know mom is his number one fan. And I always ask him, what's going on with you today? Sometimes I don't hear from him. Mom on the phone, and then I get so visceral. I hear from him. every day, couple times a day. And when I don't, my nerves get bad. They know every facility he go to. I'm calling. Is something going on with the phone today?
Mm.
They'd be like, I don't know who this cat is, but people be concerned. Well, I can't speak for nobody else, but that's mine. And I am concerned. He might be a number to you guys, but he's somebody to us.
Yeah, your baby. No matter how old he is, at 30, that's still your baby.
Yeah, so I always ask them, what's going on? Then, sometimes you just got to break the ice. So, cause sometimes you can hear it in him, even though he might be like, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. He ain't that serious, but not until I ask that question, what's going on? Then he opens up and he'll say certain things and we go from there. Right? He knows his mom is his number one fan.
Mm. I want to have another question, ladies. Send in. Do you think that society allows boys the same emotional range as girls?
No,
Elaborate.
no, society, especially with us
The first thing
black
they'll
boys,
the first thing
yeah,
they'll do is if a boy cries, they'll say he gay or
they label them.
yeah. It's like boys can't be emotional. So no.
If a girl
Well,
doesn't, it's expected.
but we do allow emotions, right? Because anger is an emotion, right?
That's true.
Hmm.
Frustration. Here's
But
why.
why is crying seen as weak though?
Because you're going to be targeted because it's viewed as weak.
But that's bad. That's
No, no,
bad because
no.
I can
That's
be.
good because we're protecting our sons from becoming a target, right? If
Hmm.
think about bullies that we all been through school, right? Who do bullies target?
Them soft people.
The weakest person.
Yeah, the weakest person.
So we don't say you can't be emotional. That's just one of the emotions that we try to get you to suppress or hold on to if you can, because of the sign that it sends, the message that it sends, and the signs that is shown by that, right? So, okay, you're a little boy, you all are out in the park together. You didn't get picked. You drop on the ground and bust and start crying. What? Get your mind up off the ground, man. That's a life lesson. You're not going to be chosen for everything. Now, mom ready to stop the whole playground. Why my son can't play? Oh, we need to get a bit. Well, y'all need to expand the teams, you know, and we try to carve out the world to cater to our son's feelings and emotions. That's what we mean by coddling, right? Versus, hey, this is a part of life. You didn't get picked today, but one day you're going to get better. But you don't just sit here and cry. Because what is crying going to do? Do you think the boys that didn't pick you are going to say, oh, he's over there crying, man, let's pick him up? No, that's the weakest person. I'm glad we didn't pick him up. Or if we do have to, I don't want him on my team. And again, we know that people will cry, right? It's an emotion. It's an emotion. But sometimes you have to learn to control those emotions. Just like you all would tell a woman, girl, don't be crying over no man out in public. Don't act a fool. If your daughter gets heartbroken, do you want your daughter to just fall out on the floor and start crying over a man? Think about the message that's sent by that and how you would want her to mask those feelings and control those feelings until she gets in a space where she can express it. That is how we feel about little boys, you know, crying over petty things. I didn't get this. I didn't get picked. Or we didn't get this game while I was at the store. So now you hoo crying? No, 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 no.
Oh no, 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 no. I've been talking about to that extreme now. Hell no.
Right.
Excuse
So
me.
that's what I'm talking about. We talk about crying and we be like, hey man, come on, tighten up with all that, man. You know? Now if you're at home, something happens, you get hurt. Hey, let's make sure you're all right. You're okay. I don't mind if mommy want to hug you, hold you, kiss it, whatever. I'll do the same thing. But there's a difference between physical pain and an emotional reaction. Like an emotional pain, you know, should warrant a different response, you know? This is a time to just pause, stop, breathe, and reflect, you know. But it's all raised differently. I mean, luckily for me, my oldest son, at an early age, he became like emotionless like that. He wasn't going to be out crying Now, my baby boy is different, and I can always tell when something's wrong with him. And he's not above crying when his feelings get hurt because, I mean, he's just emotional. He wears his feelings. He thinks the world is filled with roses and everybody's nice and everyone's going to treat him well. And if he gets mistreated, he doesn't process it well. So I know that's a process getting him out of that phase, but yeah, we do. And I'm speaking from a male's perspective, just my perspective as a male, that we don't want our sons to be viewed as the weakest link because he is going to be targeted. If you're in any type of combat, if you're playing sports, right? Just think about a basketball game. Who are you going to try to score against? The person that looks the shortest, the weakest, or scariest. That's always the easiest point of attack, the person that looks the weakest. So we try to mask that. You don't need to be out doing that. You don't need to be out crying like that. And I just went on about that. That was a touchy one from a guy. I get these other questions. So people are always sending questions to me. I have you notice we have a lot of listeners that come in and out, and everyone is not a vocal person. I get it, but they do have questions that they want to ask. Ladies, what values or principles do you think are most important to instill in boys today? Karen, Nicole.
Follow, do what's right. Don't follow social media because everything has consequences. Do what you know is right for you. Don't mimic. Don't look at somebody's lifestyle, regardless materialistic, whatever it may look like, because there's a lot of things that look like what it really ain't.
Mm.
So in everything that you do, just know there are consequences, and the choice that you make is the choice that you have to live with. That's my advice.
Karen, what are some values that you would like to instill in boys today? Not just your son, and boys in general.
Boy.
I would say be a leader, not a follower. Um, that's like what was said about social media. Social media is like a good thing and a bad thing. A lot of kids are, and when I say be a leader, not a follower, like you see a lot of kids now succumbing to peer pressure. Peer pressure was always around, but it's real bad now. And always and don't try to fit in. Like, don't try to fit in with people. And I mean, it's a lot of different things that I would instill in boys. And
I want to hear all of them.
oh Lord,
Stay out of trouble.
because it's so easy to get in and hard to get out.
Very.
Oh Lord, follow your passion. People see like people see things done a certain way from other people and be like, oh, I think I want to do that too because they making a lot of money or whatever. But yeah, no. Follow your passion and money will come.
Mm.
Whatever. Boys today. Oh Lord. Conflict resolution.
Yeah.
Like why y'all can't talk about stuff? Like why everybody getting killed and like fighting and stuff? Like y'all can't talk through nothing anymore?
That's a good one.
Now that is a skill that's needed, and it starts at a very, very early age.
Yes.
When you learn to resolve conflicts at an early age, then you're able to resolve conflicts as an adult. Some people were never taught conflict resolution skills. And I think it's a skill that has been we take for granted, and it has to be taught. How do you talk your way out of things? How do you avoid confrontations?
Mm-hmm.
And of course your environment plays a role, because how do you remove yourself from that environment? And unfortunately for a lot of kids, they don't control where they live. You live there because it's your mom or grandparents live. Where parents or grandparents live. That's why you're there. So, conflicts are going to arise, and this is a topic that I used to research because it was something that was so prevalent in schools. And, you know, I wanted to know the impact of what's called these new neighborhoods. We grew up in smaller areas and rural areas, right? Growing up, I'm sure that you all knew every one of your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you went to your grandparents' house. There was an immediate family member. You had a grand aunt, grand uncle, cousins, aunties, everybody around. You knew who was responsible. You knew who was a troublemaker. You knew who your mom would be okay with you hanging out with. You knew who your parents did not want you around. You knew who could fight. You knew the cousin who couldn't fight and you would have to protect if they were with you, right? Like so many things we knew about each other. And we also had conflicts, but we knew we had to resolve them before the parents came home. Because what was going to happen if y'all were fussing and fighting when the parents came back?
Everybody's getting in trouble.
Everybody's getting in trouble, or they cannot come back the next day,
Yep.
or you can't go to that person's house, right? That's for girls. For little boys, we want to go back to such and such's house. He had the basketball goal, right? He had the video game. He had the Atari. He has the go-kart. So you learn to resolve conflicts on your own, and you also learn how to avoid conflicts. Social interaction was different in the summer times. Where do most of us spend summers? And what are some summer activities that you all can recall? And I can go first. For me, was vacation Bible study. We knew who came down from New York visiting their grandparents. We knew who had cousins that came for a family reunion from wherever. And you had to interact with each other. You spoke, you asked some basic questions, you found out different things. Kids interacted and played together. Now there is no social interaction. And this has been alarming to me for several years. I remember about 15 years ago, I told a kid, hey, give this to Michelle, just using the alias. Give this paper to Michelle. And the student looked at me and said, who's Michelle? How are you sitting in a classroom with someone every single day for an entire school year and you don't know the person's name? And I'm sure I can ask you all about people that were a grade or two or maybe three grades behind you at your school and you knew them. So, you know, there's no social interaction. And we've, how can I say, I think that we've tried to cater the world to our child. So when things don't go their way, they don't know how to react. Because saying, oh, I go hard for mine or I do such and such for mine. All right, that's cool. But feeding your child and paying rent is not going hard for your child. Those are necessities. That's the bare minimum. That is what should happen. And then these kids think that, oh, my mom or my, would do the world for me or going to do X, Y, Z. So they don't know how to resolve conflicts. And then they make these drastic decisions. I saw a disheartening video. One of my teachers said she needed some time off. Said someone got killed right in front of her. So you serious? She showed me her Ring video. She was upstairs watching, but everything was caught on video. And a kid was sitting in the parking lot in his car. Three kids got dropped off by the dumpster, put their mask on, walked up to this boy's car and shot the car 120 something times and then ran away. I'm like, what in the world would make you do something like that to somebody in broad daylight in an apartment complex with women and children present? That just, blew me away that is what our kids have resorted to, or where they are right now. So I like what you all said, things that you would instill in your sons. There are some messages that are needed. And oh my gosh, it's 2 hours have passed. This is so. Any final words, questions, comments, concerns? We have 1 minute remaining.
No, this was nice.
I want to thank you, Nicole.
Good show. Good show.
Deborah's been having technical difficulties. Yep, great show as usual. Thanks for typing in, Deborah. We've surpassed our 2 hour slot, and we're going to invite you all back again next week, Sunday. We'll share the topics. And if you all have some things that you all want to discuss, remember, tune in to Men Are From Mars. And this is where we get some insight. If we want to know something, we ask. No assumptions being made. And thank you all for coming out.
Thank you.
And have a blessed week, everyone.